Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby here today with Finneas, an Oscar nominee this year for the original song "What Was I Made For" from the movie Barbie. Uh, and before we get to the Oscars, congrats on a great night at the Grammys for you and Billie. You both won Best the Song of the Year for the second time in your career so far. What does that feel like to have, this song from a movie have this amazing crossover appeal and be, received at this massive level?
Thank you very much. Huge. I think like as a songwriting geek, the everything there's all these sort of and Meryl Streep made a joke about it the other night. Because there's all these categories: record of the year, album of the year, song of the year, and it's always a little bit unclear what the actual uh merit of the award is, right? And the song of the year is just like songwriting. Doesn't have any Billie's unbelievable singing has nothing to do with that. My production, whether you think it's terrible or good, nothing to do with that. It's lyrics and melody. And I think, if like as a songwriting geek forever, like that's the award that I've always paid the most attention to. So to win that one is as big an honor as there could be. I think the life of this song outside of this movie um, has felt really profound. We felt really lucky. I think obviously, I don't know too many people who didn't see the Barbie movie, but watching the song in tandem with the movie have this kind of um, like play the soundtrack to people's videos on TikTok and watch people make these little slideshows that they would post on their socials, and just to hear people, I would get hit up by people I barely knew or people that I'd known for years, just saying like, "Hey, I've been listening to that song a lot lately." And that was like the moment I started to know, obviously, because um I feel like we all throughout our lives have songs from movies that have done that to us, right? That have immediately sort of exited the movie and we've taken it with us and made it a part of our lives. So when I was hearing that people were doing that, it was like that was very meaningful to me, and it did not sort of go unappreciated.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the songwriting of this for a little bit because Mark Ronson told me that you all did not see the full movie when you wrote this. You were not assigned a scene, and you also wrote it extremely fast. So, what was it that really hooked you and inspired this, creative burst to write it so quickly?
Um, I know I feel like maybe we've undersold ourselves by copying to how quickly we wrote it. Maybe it's making the song seem less valuable or something, but I really do feel career wide that the songs that I have been the most proud of have been written the most quickly. I think there's a kind of a, power to the inspiration and how inspired you are when you write it. And the songs that I've labored over for years, and those songs are often, those are gathering dust on the shelf. I don't like, uh, that's a sort of a sad rule, because oftentimes you think that the longer you work on something, the better it's going to turn out. But oftentimes the thing that you make and that you leave alone and that you sit there, it has a lot of magic to it. Yeah. So the genesis was uh, Paul Wachter, who works with us, had a meeting with Inan from Mattel. Inan had been bragging about how amazing the Barbie movie was. He had been bragging about how amazing the soundtrack was going to be with all these amazing artists: Dua Lipa and Dominic Fike and Sam Smith and Lizzo and everybody. And Paul, who works for us, who is always up to bat, was like, "Well, you don't have Billie Eilish on the soundtrack." And he was like, "Oh, could we get Billie Eilish?" And Paul was like, "Well, you can ask." And he hit me. He just cold called me and was like, "Do you guys want to do a song for the Barbie soundtrack?" And my immediate sort of feeling was like, "Oh, I think that movie, Greta is amazing, Noah's amazing. Um, I think that movie might be a really big deal." Even the paparazzi set photos had been a really big deal already, and I'd certainly love to talk to whoever, you know. And so I got put in touch with Mark Ronson. Mark and I spoke. Mark very kindly set up a Zoom for me and Billy and Greta. Greta spoke with us, and she was pretty adamant that we had to see the movie. She sort of explained like two bullet points about the movie, and then I remember her being like, "So Barbie starts to think about death a lot, and then she goes out of Barbie land to the real world, and meanwhile Ken is sort of creating patriarchy in Barbie land, and it's all kind of like easy bake oven, like it's all sort of this like it's like mini fridges, like it's this whole kind of thing. Easy bake ovens, I was thinking of the word mini fridge. Anyway, so she was like, but none of that makes sense if I'm telling it to you. You have to just see the movie. And so she was flying out like 2 weeks later, presumably for, hopefully more important things, and took an afternoon out of her trip to show us the movie. This was like a year ago, 2 weeks ago. Um, and she played us the first 40 minutes, which was like done, like exactly as it is in the theater to my memory. And then she kind of would walk to the front of the theater like she was giving us a presentation and kind of guide us through the remaining parts of the film, and because they were still editing it. So she'd go, okay, so this scene we have, she'd play us the scene on the quad with Arne Greenblatt sort of berating Barbie, and she'd play us the America Ferrera's monologue, and she'd play us the I'm Just Ken, um, you know, rhapsody, whatever we want to call that experience. Um, and and then she played us the scene where Ruth is holding hands with Barbie, and she says, "Close your eyes now, feel." And at the time, no montage. Billy and I were just very struck by the sort of sentiment of it and the idea that to be a human being is to feel the range of emotions from euphoria to, grief and anxiety, um and Margot's performance was so beautiful, and we just were very inspired, and we went home and wrote the song the next day. um and that was the genesis of that. So really truly, the most kind of there was no kind of watching the movie and thinking to ourselves, what song do we already have sitting lying around that we can repurpose to this. It was We always want to make something bespoke, something like perfectly tailored to whatever we're involved in.
Mm. I think one of the things I love about the song, the quality of the production. Billy is using this really high falsetto. It's so
Right.
gentle and quiet. The piano that's under a lot of it, it feels very almost muffled. To me, it sounds like it's almost like something waking up. There's like an awakening. Why was that kind of the right tone to land on for this song?
Um, Beautifully put. The way that you play the piano like that is on upright pianos. The way a piano works, for anybody who doesn't know, is you play a note, and the note triggers a little hammer, and the hammer bounces off a string, and that's what you're hearing, is like a hammer on a string going doing, and that's like the sound. And on an upright piano, most upright pianos have what's called a practice pedal. And you press down this practice pedal, and a little sheet of felt goes in front of the hammers. And so in between the hammer and the string is this sheet of felt, and it makes everything sort of muffled and warm. I love that sound. And practice pedal be damned. I put it on just about everything. I'm a big fan. I think first of all, that I don't have a perfect answer for like why those two choices, other than that was how we sat down to write. I was sitting at the piano and I was playing with the felt pedal. Billy has really a dynamic voice, and she started to sing in this high falsetto, and that is pretty quiet. And so to match her dynamic, I was just playing as quietly as possible. Um, and I think it was really about this kind of like tenderness that we felt like could be our angle for the film. And like Billy jokes that like when her name got announced, that she was gonna have a song on the Barbie film, a lot of the internet comments were like, "Oh, great! I guess Barbie gets like a super depressing, miserable song." And it is very like emotional. It makes me want to cry, but I don't actually think it's like depressed. Like I don't think it's a song about how hard or sad life is. It's a song about how fragile uh people are, human beings are. Like to me, it's a song with a lot of fragility as opposed to um being a song that we were trying to write from a kind of a morose place. So yeah, we were just trying to be delicate and careful, and I think that was our best idea about articulating what we felt.
That delicateness seems like to me it would be so hard to take that from a, studio setting and then do what you did with the Grammys and be on a much larger stage with cameras pointed at you. Was
Yeah,
it difficult to switch up, the setting for that and perform it in that context?
man, you know, yes. I mean, I sit there and play the same piano part on like literally the same model of piano, so I take no credit for that. I like the fact that Billy, you know, can do that under pressure, can sing that like, do you know how much you could tell if your voice was nervous in that, like the way that we like whenever you have to speak in public or anything and you get that little wobble, you sound a little like you're gonna cry. Like you can't sing the way that she sings and be feeling that way. I don't know how she navigates that because I know she does get nervous and I know she desperately wants to um do a good job. So the fact that she has that control um, is shocking. And I don't know. I think people. I joked about this with her recently. Like, I think she's such a amazing live performer that people kind of
Mm.
take it for granted. Um, and mostly when artists sing a challenging song live like that, you do kind of watch it like you're watching like a tightrope walker or something. Like, oh my God, anything could go wrong. And I don't feel like people are doing that with Billie anymore. And I do, because I'm sitting right there and I'm her brother. And so I always kind of walk off stage with her and I'm like, oh, you did it again. Like, congratulations. But yeah, what an ability. I was talking about this with I think Troy Sivan at the Grammys, where he was like, how do you guys do that?" And I was like, "I'm playing piano." I was like, if I, God forbid I ever, I sing some harmonies with her, but like, God forbid I'm ever, singing lead at a show like the Grammys. Like, I am gonna be so nervous.
Well, if they asked you to do it at the Oscars, would you revisit another live performance? That is often tradition with these nominees.
Yes, I mean, as a rule, anything that gets my adrenaline spiked, I think Billy feels the exact same way. We say yes to. I think the Oscars notoriously for us. We've performed twice. We did the In Memoriam
Yeah.
song in 2020, and then we played No Time to Die in 2022. Oscars is terrifying. Room full of most famous movie stars ever. Also, all very polite. The Grammys is very raucous, very boisterous. A lot of like partying going on at the Grammys. People are walking around with bottles of champagne. The Oscars are like actors and filmmakers and producers and film crews are very professional. The film industry is a professional industry, and so they're sitting there very quietly watching you, and you hope not judging you too harshly. But yeah, what a thrill! If we get asked to perform at the Oscars, we'll go do that.
Yeah. Well, thinking about, the difference between music and film industry, you are not normally in the position of like pitching a song to people like you kind of are with this. You're creating your own material.
Sure.
Did that change the dynamic when you sat down to write it? Was there like an added pressure?
No, it didn't change the dynamic when we sat down to write it. I think, we really tried once we had an understanding of what Greta wanted, which was in her words like Barbie's heart song. We set out to deliver that. But we're still trying to please ourselves, right? We're still trying to make the song that we will feel the most satisfied with. I mean, there is no denying that like because of the time change, she was in New York at the time. Like we finished the like a vocal piano version to send to her at like 10 p.m. and then I sent it to her at like 11 p.m. And like going to bed on that, on like here's the song, hope you like it, terrifying, super terrifying. And obviously, total respect, like it's her movie. If she'd said, this is very beautiful, but I just don't connect with it, it's not right for my film. It's like it's not like we'd uh have a big fight with her. Like we would have been like we would have been like, okay, thanks for letting us write this. So when I remember like waking up and doing what I do every day, unfortunately, which is wake up and immediately look at my phone. But we'd gotten texts from her and Mark that were just like they really got it. They really loved it, and it was such a relief. Just because then we could get to work and make it perfect.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking something you said about the relationship with your sister, watching her perform, because you are in a very unique position, having this amazing creative partnership with your sibling, which many people don't have. And so
Right.
you obviously know her voice incredibly well. When you sit down to write a song, like if you're writing for Billie's voice, are you hearing it in your head? Are you trying to push that voice to like a new place? What's your
Hmm.
normal approach there?
Super good question. In the specific case of this song, um, she started to sing that melody of the verse, the I used to flow, started to sing that melody at the exact same time as I was playing the chords. Um, so I thought that melody was amazing off the bat. So I had nothing to do with that little melody line. And then it was just sort of about like, where we're going from A to B and that chorus melody. I remember we were working on that chorus melody, and it's all kind of like just the journey of the song, right? You have sort of three components to that song. There's like verse, and then there's chorus, and then there's hook. And the hook is that what was I made for refrain. And so that happens sort of over and over. And so by the time you've gotten to the chorus, you've heard the title of the song, you've heard that melody of the title twice with a rhyme. Um, and so it's really just about like where are we going melodically, vocally, lyrically. And Billie is funny for all of her skill and her self-confidence. I remember her like on that chorus being like, that's too high. And I was like, it's gonna sound amazing. Like I think that when you're the way that singing feels, especially singing super high like that, she has really good technique, but it's hard. It's a lot of breath support. It's a lot of control. It's a lot of precision. So it's not like sometimes you sing a song, like the song you sing in the shower is the song that feels really good to sing. It may sound terrible, but the song that sounds really beautiful may be a totally different thing. So like for her being like, oh, like that's not going to sound good. And I'm like, I'm not in your head. I'm sitting here listening to you. It sounds amazing. Sing it.
Mhm.
And then, it isn't often until she's listening to it back that she thinks, oh, I actually really like how that sounds. Um, and so that's really my role, I think, more than anything. And always has been, is to sort of say, trust me, your skill outweighs your judgment here. And just because, you're going for 111% doesn't mean that it isn't already amazing, and we'll just do enough takes that you feel like it's perfect.
Well, clearly the Oscar voters thought it was pretty amazing too. And before I let you go, you've
Sure.
both have previously won this original song category for No Time to Die. What does it feel like to not only have that crossover and have music kind of embraced on both sides of the spectrum, from music industry to film industry?
Um, I think that they're both, peer voted things, Um, much love to the Critics' Choice Awards. I am not a film critic. And that's an amazing community, I'm sure, of its own. But that feels like being judged and awarded by a third party. And I vote for the Oscars and I vote for the recording. Okay, I wrote vote for the Grammy Awards. So I think that like that world of like other um people doing exactly what I do and participating in it is a huge honor. I think that this sounds like so goofy, and I really mean this sincerely. Like even the first nomination, certainly this nomination, like I look at it as like um I look at it as like the best job security of all time. Of like, oh, thank goodness, like maybe we'll get to keep doing this for a living. Like I really feel that way. I think that like it's deeply meaningful. And again, like the, to be nominated amongst, I love John Batiste so much. I'm so happy that John is nominated. I love the other nominees in this category too. Again, like being nominated is such a joy, and I'm so proud of the work we get to do. And I really do like. I feel like it makes me feel like, oh man, maybe um, I'll get a whole lifetime of doing this out of this. I think one of the funny experiences, not that we're particularly old, but the first time we went to the Oscars, the first time we went to the Grammys, it's impossible not to be like, this might be it. Like this might be the year I get in. I wasn't invited last year. Why would I be invited next year, right? Um, and so when you get asked back to the party, like that's sort of like double shocking. Um, and yeah, again, it's like it's just really, as a fan of film, as a fan of music, like what a joy to like the Grammys on Sunday, being there in our dressing room, like screaming when Boy Genius won three categories in a row, screaming when Paramore won two categories in a row. I was so happy when um you know SZA won. I was so happy when Miley won. It was really exciting to see Taylor Swift make history. And anytime anybody does something that's never been done before, like how can you not be impressed by that? And yeah, just a treat, like a treat to like I walked over to Lana that night and was just like basically like it's such a funny thing when you do something like this. Like I walked over to her and was like, you don't even know how important to us you are. And we've talked about how important you are a lot. And you still don't know, how important your music is and how impactful it is. And yeah, it's just kind of like being able to be there in the flesh and do that. That's to me. And I try to abuse that ability on the regular. Like any musician, actor, filmmaker in my phone, if I watch their thing or I watch it again or I see something new, like I hit them up and I'm like, that is great, and I'm such an appreciator of it. And it's not out of some desire to like kiss ass, it's just to show appreciation, right? I think it's
Mm.
like if you're in the flesh next to somebody who's done something that's moved you, huge, great honor, to be able to say, hey, that's very meaningful to me, and have a kind of interaction with them. And I never expected that I would. And there's hundreds of artists of all, sort of shapes that I've never gotten to do that to. But if I do get the opportunity, I try to take advantage of it, because why not, right? And it's always been meaningful to me. If somebody comes up to me and tells me that the stuff Billy and I've made is meaningful to them, the best.
Yeah. Well, this song has clearly been very meaningful to lots of people this year. So congratulations to both you and Billy on your latest nomination, and best of luck at the Oscars this year. And everyone who's out there watching, make sure you stick with us at Gold Derby. And Phineas, thank you so much.
Sam, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, treat to talk to you again.